Just because you can run 5 days a week doesn't mean you will. And it doesn't mean that you will be able to sustain that once your motivation wanes and once your life gets busy. So think about going for one run a week or starting a walking habit, and then the next week build to 2 days. And then maybe the next week after that, you'll be able to build to 3 days. Hi there, and a warm welcome to the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm Dr. Bree Hearn, host and general nerd about all things habits. Over my 20 plus years working as a writer, educator, researcher, keynote speaker, and coach, I've realized that habits influence everything from our health to our productivity and even our relationships. It was Aristotle, in fact, who said we become what we repeatedly do. On this podcast, you'll learn from inspiring experts as they share the habits and systems that help them live happily, healthily, and to achieve enormous success in their chosen fields. Thanks for being here. I do hope that you enjoy the episode. Hi there, Habit Nerds. Welcome to our last episode of 2025. Now, by the time you're listening to this, Christmas has passed. And it is New Year season. New Year, new me. The season of New Year's resolutions, New Year intentions. Now, I thought it would be helpful to do a brief episode on the intentions or resolutions that most people have as they face a new year, and then give you some hacks or some strategies or systems that will give you the best chance of any new behavior that you would like to embed as part of your 2026 routine, your 2026 self. Give it the best chance of sticking, so staying embedded as a new habit. So the top New Year intentions research would show are these things: saving money, joining a gym, going on a daily walk, getting enough sleep at night, drinking more water, eating more vegetables and fruit, and incorporating a practice like meditation or yoga, spending more time with family or friends, and trying a new skill or hobby. So, for example, learning to play a musical instrument. The statistics around New Year's resolutions are a little bit dire, which is why I think this episode really does have merit. A small percentage of people stick to their New Year's habits, with many sources citing around 8 or 9% successfully achieve their resolutions. And by successfully, I mean by the time New Year's comes around the next year, they have created a new behavior. Most resolutions are abandoned quickly, with estimates showing that by mid-February, roughly 80% of them are forgotten. Some more top resolutions, this is an American study, show things like lose weight, get organized, spend less money, help others, quit smoking, fall in love, or learn something new. 45% of people are said to make a New Year's resolution, 8% keep it for the entire year, 46% are kept until June, so 6 months. And in terms of age groups, 39% of people in their 20s keep resolutions the entire year, and only 14% of 50-somethings, so people in their 50s, keep resolutions for the entire year. Now, you've probably had this experience of setting a New Year's resolution and having it either fail or not fail, but not become embedded as a new permanent behavior. Whether you made it to the 15th of January, the 15th of February, or whether you made it to June. I'm going to give you some research into why they fail. The first one is that the goals are unrealistic. Many resolutions are far too drastic, such as making an immediate daily gym commitment for someone who doesn't normally exercise. The hill is too steep, the bridge is too far, so it is unrealistic. The second one is vague intentions. This really struck me as I was going through the list earlier. Resolutions are often vague wish lists rather than actionable plans. So by saying get fit, lose weight, eat better, what does that actually mean in practice? What does lose weight mean? How much weight? By when? Eat better. Does that mean cut out processed food? Does that mean incorporate more vegetables or fiber or protein? Does that mean eliminate sugar? So what is it about eating better? Is it not eating late at night? Is it not reaching for high processed food at 3 p.m.? All of these would be more specific and give the person who's holding that resolution a much better chance of being successful. Another reason that the resolutions or goals fail is the why isn't clear or relevant to you. It would be silly for me to say I need to give up coffee because I love coffee and I have my one barista made coffee early in the morning each day. So if I said I'm going to give up coffee, it wouldn't be relevant to me because I don't need to, and there would be no reason for me to do it. Another one is yoga. I often say I'd like to start yoga, but I don't really know why. And it's not a strong enough tie to me and my identity to have that habit stick. So the why isn't clear to me. And the last reason they fail is that people lose motivation. The initial new year, new me enthusiasm fades, and by February, most people have given up on their goals. Habits are about forming a new identity, and it would be unusual if you didn't do it. Think about brushing your teeth as a habit. It would be unusual if you did not brush your teeth. So once you've lost the enthusiasm for, starting a running habit, for example, your motivation will fade and therefore you'll stop doing the habit, which is why I've said in a few different contexts on this podcast, motivation is not a resource that we can rely on. It is a diminishing resource. We're much better to have systems built in so that we can continue our habits when our motivation fades. Now, hopefully that will give you a sense of what the most popular habits, New Year's resolutions, intentions are, and help you understand why they fail. Before I give you the 6 hacks to make a new habit stick according to science, I do want to outline what a habit actually is and what it isn't. So eat healthy is not a habit. Eat healthy might be a new intention or a new behavior. A habit in its most basic form requires 3 things: a cue, behavior, and reward. So think about a habit of, this is a bit gross, but going to the toilet. The cue is that you pull down your pants. That inspires the behavior of releasing the urine, and the reward is the feeling of relief. So see, it is a very quick, very natural 3-part process. An undesirable habit that a lot of us share is phone checking first thing in the morning. The cue is waking up. The habit is grabbing your phone and clicking onto your email app or the Instagram app, and the reward is the dopamine hit. So to break the habit, you need to disrupt the cue. So to break the habit of checking your phone first thing in the morning, the cue is that you wake up and reach for your phone. To break that, you would need to, for example, charge your phone out of your arm's reach and have your alarm go off so that you need to get up out of bed and get it rather than just roll over, grab it from the bedside table and start scrolling. So the other thing to think of with a habit, once you realize that a habit relies on the cue, the behavior, and the reward, consider why a new habit is important to you. And I would recommend keep asking the why until you nail it. So why is it important that I don't check my phone first thing in the morning? Well, because it will make me late for the gym. Why? Because then I won't get my exercise in. Why? Because then I will feel low energy throughout the day. Another reason why it's important not to check my phone first thing in the morning, it will start using up my really precious cognitive resources. It will make me less creative. So those things are really important to me. So therefore the why is strong. I've spoken about this before. I have a friend who wanted to start running, or she told me she was going to start running. And I said, "Oh, why are you going to start running?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. It's supposed to be good for you. My husband said we should do it." And her why was just not strong enough. So surprise, surprise, she didn't. I think they went on one run or two runs and then they stopped. So really think about what your motivation is and keep asking that why question until you feel like you've nailed it. Okay, so let me give you 6 hacks to make a new habit stick. This is according to lots of the research that I've done. And obviously, having done this Habit Nerd podcast for a year now, I've had the really great privilege of working with and interviewing lots and lots and lots of people around how to make habits stick. The first hack I'm going to give you is reward it. Remember, the third stage in a habit loop is the reward. So have a benchmark for yourself, and when you meet it, plan a reward. So this worked for me when I was writing my doctoral thesis. Those people who are familiar, a thesis is about 100,000 words. So it takes a long, long time to write, and it's a very rigorous and very difficult process. It takes a few years. So I needed to have benchmarks for myself throughout the process, and I worked really hard towards those rewards. So one was, there was a perfume that I really wanted. It was an expensive perfume. So I set myself a challenge of, when I finished a particular chapter of the thesis, and it was a really challenging one, I would be able to buy myself that perfume. I had a picture of it stuck up in my office. So every time I felt myself waning, I really focused in on how it would feel to have that reward. And then when I did submit that chapter and I felt that pride, I submitted it, and then I went straight online and I purchased the perfume. And when it came, the feeling of pride that I got really reinforced that behavior. And every time I spray that perfume now, I feel a sense of accomplishment and a sense of pride. So think about rewarding yourself. Another reward I've given myself when I'm really trying hard to embed a new behavior is, I wanted to get some really beautiful bed linen. So I wanted to get some, 1,500 count, thread count cotton sheets. And I knew that would be really luxurious, but obviously quite expensive. So I gave myself a 6-week challenge to have no blue light for 1 hour before bed. And once I reached that 6 weeks, I would be allowed to go and buy myself and obviously my husband our new bed linen. I tried and failed a few times. I did, check my phone, or I was watching a movie in bed. So I would start the 6 weeks again. But once I got to the 6-week mark, so 6 times 7 days in a row, I went out and I bought myself the linen, and there was a real sense of pride around it. So think about, what can you give yourself as a reward so that your new behavior becomes A, more desirable, but B, so that you've got that positive feedback loop so that you can keep going. And a reminder, make sure the reward isn't linked to an undesirable habit. So as an example, if you are struggling to swap wine on a weeknight, for example, you want to drink less alcohol on weeknights. So you might have a habit of drinking a glass of wine or two in the evening, and you'd like to cut that out and just drink on the weekends. Maybe you would swap out your wine for a sparkling water. And once you've done that for 2 weeks, the reward can't be a whole bottle of wine on a Wednesday night, because that will negate the behavior. So think about the reward being something that's quite desirable to you. It might be, I don't know, buying something like I did, or it might be going for a massage, or whatever it is, but don't make the reward another bad habit or another bad behavior. So that's my first one, reward it. The second hack I have for you is something I was reminded of by Dr. Gina Cleo, who is a habit expert, a behavioral science expert, and she talks about doing the absolute smallest version of the new behavior. Her example was somebody that she was working with wanted to start meditating, and they wanted to start doing, half an hour a day or an hour a day. But she said, let's just do some mindful breathing while you're in the shower. And her client pushed back and said, no, I really want to do half an hour. I can do half an hour. And she was very insightful and said, just because you can doesn't mean you will. And by her client spending the 2 minutes or even the 1 minute in the shower and doing some mindful breathing, they were able to prove to themselves that it was a new habit and a new self-concept or a new identity that was sustainable, because they did it for, I don't know what it was, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Before then they started extending it. Another example is if you would like to start a running habit, just because you can run 5 days a week doesn't mean you will. And it doesn't mean that you will be able to sustain that once your motivation wanes and once your life gets busy. So think about going for 1 run a week or starting a walking habit, and then the next week build to 2 days. And then maybe the next week after that, you'll be able to build to 3 days and do a couple of weeks of 3 days. And then you might be happy there, and that might be where your new behavior stays quite comfortably embedded. And then maybe you want to, do a fourth day after you've done it for a couple of months, for example. But the idea is to start with the smallest version, because it creates a new proof of a new identity. Think about, if you'd like to drink more water, maybe just have a glass of water next to your bed so you drink it once you wake up. Don't go from drinking almost no water to 2 liters of water a day. Don't think that you can vaguely save money. Maybe you can save $10 each week. And then once you've got the evidence of that new behavior and that proof of the new identity, then you can slowly increase it. But the second hack, and a really important one, is to do the smallest version of your new behavior. The third one comes from James Clear, and he calls this never miss twice. Think about when you have tried to embed a new behavior and then you have had a bad day, or you have fallen off the wagon. Maybe you're trying to eat, with maybe more vegetables, or to eliminate one, source of food groups that isn't serving you, as an example. And you go out for lunch or you have a function and you blow out, and it all goes to the, what? It's really easy to go, oh, well, I failed. Don't worry about it. That habit obviously isn't going to work for me. I'm no good. And then you just go back to your old ways. The idea of never missing twice is, if you have a blowout for dinner or for lunch, as I said, try and get back on track for dinner. Or if you have a couple of full days of a quote unquote blowout, and all I mean when I say blowout is something against the behavior that you are trying to embed. So don't, I have no issue with enjoying food and all of those sorts of things. But if it is making you feel like you've done against what it is that you're trying to do, don't use that as an excuse to say, oh, well, I failed. Don't miss twice. Have a big weekend, and then Monday's a new day. Get back on the horse. The same can be said for exercise. I know this past week I was interstate and I got back really late. My flight was delayed. I got back really late. So I didn't go to the gym at 6 a.m. like I normally would. I was just too tired. I turned my alarm off. It would be really easy to then turn my alarm off the next day as well, and the day after that. But this rule of never miss twice, it's good because it gives you enough grace to go, okay, you needed a break today, but tomorrow let's get back on. So think about it. Never miss twice. Consistency is the compound interest of new habits, and it averages out. I used to think that consistency was, as the name would suggest, doing the same thing every day. But what I prefer to think about now, and what a lot of the science shows is more helpful, is that consistency is better when it's averaged out. Say, for example, if you would like to embed a new exercise habit, it's much better to do something each day and understand that you might have 90% intensity on the Monday. Tuesday, you might wake up and have a headache, but you just do a small very slow walk in the afternoon after you've had enough water and you're feeling better. The Wednesday, you might go to the gym, but you might be feeling, not quite back to yourself yet. So you put in 50%. Thursday, you have a really great day and it's 85%, effort in whatever it is you're doing. And then Friday, you might go for a power walk. And so you might give yourself, 65% out of 100 in intensity. Those 5 days on average are much more consistent than if you went to the gym on Monday and Thursday and did 100%. So the idea is, by not missing twice and doing the smallest version of the behavior and being kind to yourself more often and with more consistency, it will compound over time. So think about never missing twice. Think about doing the floor version of the habit. So don't always aim for absolute, top marks, and it will average out across the week and across the month. Now, the next one, number 4 hack, is streaking or tracking. This was made famous in a pop culture sense by the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. Apparently, the legend has it, that when he was, this is years ago, maybe 20 years ago, a young comedian, somebody who was just emerging, straight out of college, said, "How do you get so good at stand-up?" And Jerry Seinfeld told him this story, that he would get a calendar, and a physical calendar, and he would write jokes every single day. And every day where he wrote even one joke, he would put a red cross on his calendar. And it was only when he saw, 30 days plus 30 days plus 30 days of the red crosses on his calendar that he started to realize that he was getting good at writing these jokes. But the idea around streaking or tracking is, it is the visual reminder and the visual motivator that you don't want to have a day without that cross. So it's not so much that he did it every day, it's that he didn't let himself not do it. And this is this idea of habit streaking or habit tracking. It is having a visual reminder. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can do it. I know in the past I've had physical journals. I know Steph Pace has, a tick system in her journals. That's helped for me. But now I like apps. There are a few habit tracking apps. My favorite one is called Atoms, and it is by James Clear, and it is based on his work of Atomic Habits. It's actually an iPhone app where I can put in ticks with how I'm going with a new habit. There's Habitica, there's one called Streaks, which is a free version. There's Habitify. Have a look on your iPhone or have a look on your Android. I think there is Productive is an Android one, and I think a Loop Habit Tracker is also available only for Android. But think about something that you find quite simple and quite easy to use. And if habit tracking or streaking sounds desirable to you, it's this idea of never missing twice. So you can put the tick in or the cross on the day, and then if you have a bad day the next day, it's just a reminder to get back on the horse. So if there's one day missed, it feels a whole lot better than if there's a whole week missed. Because as we know with any habit, and I'm sure you've all had this experience before, once there's 7 days missed, you've created a new habit of not doing that habit anymore. So those two are kind of linked. Never miss twice, and this idea of streaking or tracking. Now, 2 more. When I think back to the 3-part loop of creating a new habit, the cue, the behavior itself, and the reward, let's think about the first one, and this is the cue. So make it hard or make it obvious. So making it hard, make the cue hard. If you're trying to not have chocolate, don't shop for the chocolate. So cut the cue off at its source. If you do have chocolate, like I know I do, you want to make it less accessible for yourself if you want to eat less of it. So keep it at the back of the cupboard. Hide it behind some things in the fridge so there's a barrier between you just being able to grab for it with ease. If you are trying to be on Instagram less, take it off your phone. So take Instagram off your phone altogether. Rob Dial, who's the mindset mentor, he famously unplugs his TV. So he actually goes to the back of the TV and pulls it out of the power source, so that every time he wants to watch a TV show, he found he was watching too much Netflix and not doing his work when he was working from home, or he was staying up too late. So now by unplugging his TV, it's just a barrier. It's just really breaks that cue at its source, and it makes it hard. It makes the habit that's undesirable hard for him to do. The inverse of this is make it obvious or make it easy. So if you want to drink more water, have your water bottle filled with fresh water and have it close by. If you want to eat more vegetables, meal prep a salad on the weekend for your weekday lunches. So make the actual motivation, the first part of the habit, really, really easy. So that hack is to either make it hard or make it easy. And think about whether you're trying to embed a new positive habit. You need to be able to make it easy for yourself. And the inverse is if you're trying to break an undesirable habit, say, for example, eating chocolate or watching TV or picking up your phone first thing in the morning, break it off at its source, make it hard to do. And my last one is a little bit like habit stacking, but more nuanced than that. It's called temptation bundling. This is about doing something you need to do only when you're doing something you like to do. I'll give you an example. I don't like folding washing. I don't like ironing. I will only let myself listen to my favorite podcast, which I have saved up for the time when I'm doing my ironing or my folding. So therefore, I'm rewarding myself by doing something I don't want to do with something I do want to do. I got this great idea from Amantha Imber's book, The Health Habit, and she talked about the neuroscience behind this. And her example is that she goes on the exercise bike. She doesn't enjoy the exercise bike, but she does love, and she's embarrassed to say this, trash reality TV, in particular, The Bachelor. And you could sub that out with anything, Love Island, one of the Housewives franchises, whatever it is that you like to watch. But she doesn't let herself watch The Bachelor unless she's on her exercise bike. So she's had her iPad hooked up to the bike, and she knows that the only time that she's allowed to watch that is when she does her exercise on her exercise bike. So this is an idea of temptation bundling. I know I often will compile a playlist of songs across the week when I think of something I like, or, I hear something on the radio that I want to put in a playlist, and I call that playlist Sunday. Now, on a Sunday, when I'm meal prepping for the week, so I'm prepping things for dinner or for lunches or for my girls' school snacks, I know only then am I allowed to press play on this playlist that I have been compiling and saving up. So that last one is temptation bundle. Do something you need to do only when doing something you like to do. So a quick recap for you habit nerds. I wish you all the best with starting a new habit that will be serving you and helping you show up as the person that you want to be in 2026, or by breaking something that isn't serving you. You could try these hacks. Reward yourself, do the smallest version of it, never miss twice, track it or streak it, make it hard or make it easy, and the last one is engage in temptation bundling. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I've enjoyed recording this for you, and I wish you all the best with your New Year's resolutions, your New Year's intentions, your new behaviors. I'd love to hear how you're getting on with them. Take a photo of yourself doing your new habit, or write to me over at The Habit Nerd on Instagram. I love hearing from you. And Happy New Year. Wish you all the best, and I look forward to catching up with you in the new year. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Habit Nerd. I hope you found some new inspiration, learned something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you did enjoy the episode, I would be really grateful if you could please leave a 5-star review, as it helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it should only take you 5 seconds. If you're keen for more tips and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow Habit Nerd.